Tuesday, September the 6th, 2016. I started this trap out for the second phase with one box. That bottom box, a 5-frame nuke, was totally filled to capacity about a week ago. So yesterday I brought this second 5-frame nuke box, put it on the top, transferred a couple of the frames that were honey bound out of the bottom up into the top box. I believe that there is a laying queen inside the box. The bees are still coming out of the trap out cone from inside this front porch. They're inside this wall down here. I don't know how big the hive is, but I took one box away earlier and had to close off the trap out while this house was re-roofed, new shingles put on. And I brought the trap out cone back, unplugged the hole, strapped the cone back in place, and started the second phase. So you might recognize the wood part there that the cone is attached to. That's actually the end of a 3-pound package of bees. I just utilized the wood to make a frame to put up against the opening. The opening coming out of this structure is actually down at the bottom. And that's the reason why I needed that setback of about 1/2–3/4 of an inch away from the wall, is to give the bees their entry exit up out of where this blue porch rail meets the column that supports this porch overhang. So when I made this cone, pretty typical, made out of 1/8" hardware cloth. Just made the cone, stapled it onto the end of a package of bees, and then I utilized steel wool to go around the edges, chink the edges, if you will, provide a barrier that the bees can't get through. The bad part of this deal was, you can see where the bees are going into the nuke box there. Got the opening right up against the wall post. And the bees that come out of this cone go out to the field, of course, and they can't find their way back in. I say can't find their way back in because 2 days ago, when I brought this second nuke box to put on this trap out here, I found out that somebody had utilized this spike, this nail, pretty good size spike. It's about 7 or 8 inches long, just about as big around as a pencil in diameter. Somebody had taken this spike and poked a hole down through my steel wool. So the bees were then able to, the bees that were still left in there were coming out, going out and foraging, and coming back and going back through the hole that was poked in the steel wool. Grr. So this trap out essentially started all over again. I'm not sure, but my theory is that the queen bee was still alive inside the hive, and she probably got fed up with all of the pollen that was coming back into the hive, and it probably started laying again. So what we see is, here's a few bees looking for a way back into the colony. You see that bee just came back with a load of pollen. So because the queen was allowed to be fed again, I still see bees coming out. Here we are about 7 o'clock in the evening, and there's still bees coming out of the cone. They can't get back into the cone now, but when they do come back, they'll eventually find their way into this nuke box. There's brood inside the nuke box, brood from another hive that I brought over here, and I brought a couple weeks ago. I brought a frame that had fresh eggs on it, and the bees, I believe, have drawn out queen cells. Well, I know they drew out queen cells because I saw the queen cells, and I believe one of those queens has gone out and gotten mated and is now laying inside my trap out nuke box. So 2 reasons I had to add the second box on there. One, there was a lot of bees inside this porch hive. A lot of bees. And 2, when the bees from the 2 different brood frames that I brought over here and added to the bottom box on 2 different occasions, those bees have hatched, bolstering the population, and now there's a queen laying in there. So we got day before yesterday when I put the stop box on, I moved some of the frames out of the bottom up into the top. The honeybound frames I moved up. The other frames that were in there, I saw new young larvae uncapped. So obviously those had been laid in the last 4 to 8 days. I just came over. This trap out is about 2 blocks away from my home. I just came over here to make sure that the bees that came out of the cone today were not able to get back in. And I have in fact confirmed that. The cone is intact. I can still see bees inside coming out of the colony inside the porch, making their way into the cone. And these bees that are coming back, landing on the cone right now, are bees that earlier today came out of the trap out cone, haven't found their way back in, and so they will join the rest of the bees going into the trap out box. They've got everything they need in the trap out box. We've had a honey flow going on right across the street. There's an open field, and in that field is star thistle. The very last of the star thistle is still blooming. So they're bringing in pollen. Day before yesterday when I was over here early in the morning, I'll bet you 75% of the bees that were coming back to this cone that had been out foraging came back with pollen on them. Well, that's going to wrap up this report.